You're listening to Systemic Era Podcast. The failure was designed.
Nitty-vetty independence from Donald Trump is all I'm thinking about right now, based on an article by D. Earl Stevens. Trump is not the noise. He is the machine, the context. The source piece marks America's 250th birthday by treating Donald Trump's return to the White House as the central fact of national life, while also swatting at Democratic infighting and billionaire power. That framing is not subtle, but it is useful. It names the presidency, the party machinery, and the elite class as the engine shaping the outcome. Power has a name. Actual institutional power sits with the presidency, the party that elevated him, and the officials who failed to stop him. Trump is not a side effect of civic decay. He is the most successful expression of it. The article's language about him acquiring the most powerful military in the world is not metaphorical fluff. It points to the core political reality. One man, backed by a compliant political base and an intimidated party, can turn state power into personal force. That is the real story buried inside the holiday rhetoric. The country is not merely embarrassed. It is being governed by a convicted felon whom the system allowed to return after Jan. 6 2021. That is not confusion. That is institutional surrender. The enablers. The source rightly refuses to let Trump off as an accident, but it also lands on a harder truth. Trump does not act alone. He was enabled by Republicans who kept the party as property, by a political culture that rewards provocation, and by voters who treated his first term as a rehearsal instead of a warning. The article also names Joe Biden and Merrick Garland's Justice Department as failures to keep us safe. That is blunt, and it should be. When a man who tried to overturn an election returns to power, the failure is not only his. It belongs to the institutions that had the authority to respond and chose delay, caution, or impotence instead. Misdirection is a strategy. The piece complains about Democratic factions slapping each other around while the billionaires eat our lunch. That line is more than a jab. It identifies a familiar political scam. The people with the least power get trapped in purity fights while the people with real leverage keep their hands clean and their money moving. The article is strongest when it rejects this theater. The decisive issue is not whether every Democrat matches every reader's ideological preferences. It is whether anyone is building a coalition capable of breaking mager control. The moment that gets obscured, Trump benefits. Division is not just annoying here. It is functional for the people already in charge. What the piece still misses. The source is angry at the right targets, but it still flattens some of the machinery. It treats the parties and the billionaires as broad villains, which is accurate but incomplete. The Republican Party is not just adjacent to Trump. It is the vehicle that made him durable. And Democratic weakness is not merely a personality problem or a kiddie table problem. It is an institutional problem rooted in caution, weak discipline, and a habit of mistaking process for power. The framing also risks turning politics into a morality play about who is dirtier when the deeper issue is who can actually command institutions, shape enforcement, and set the terms of public reality. Trump understands that. His opponents too often do not. The larger pen. This story is not really about a birthday, a holiday, or even one man's vulgarity. It is about the collapse of the old fantasy that institutions automatically defend themselves. They do not. They can be captured, frightened, or hollowed out by people who know how to weaponize grievance and weakness. That is the pattern here. Authoritarian personality backed by institutional cowardice with elite opportunism, filling the gaps. Trump is the face of it, not the whole disease. The disease is a political order that keeps mistaking spectacle for governance until spectacle starts doing the governing. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternate for today's article. With the automated voice of John, thanks for listening.